Dan Schneider and Nickelodeon are the big powerhouses that created the best nostalgic childhood shows we know and love today. So in this video, this is exactly what I'm going to talk about. Uncover exactly what Dan and Nick have been sweeping under the rug to keep the actors silent for so long.
And the camera was...
That was amazing. That was one of the better things I've ever heard.
Hey!
Hi, what's going on here?
Nothing. You didn't cut out that part.
Why are you sitting on the floor of the set?
Because we are.
Dan Schneider. If you guys have not heard of that name already as a millennial growing up, then let me put you up to speed. This man right here was in charge of all the big Nickelodeon shows growing up, such as All That, The Amanda Show, iCarly, Drake and Josh, Victorious, and Zoe 101. If you guys haven't heard of Dan Schneider, that's fine, but you guys remember this logo? This logo was literally after every single episode in every single Dan Schneider show. He even received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Kids' Choice Award in 2014.
So, it is our great honor to present the first ever Nickelodeon Lifetime Achievement Award to a man who has been making all of us laugh for the past 2 decades.
Put your hands together for the one and only Dan Schneider!
Now, there was one thing that's kind of questionable about what is going on here. Some actors chose not to go because of Dan Schneider and because of the allegations that he was accused of during the times that he was working with the actors in the show. The first person I want to talk about, which of course is Jeanette McCurdy. And Jeanette McCurdy sent a tweet for the Kids' Choice Awards of that year saying, a lot of you guys were asking why I didn't attend the Kids' Choice Awards. I wish I could explain everything as thoroughly as I would like to, but unfortunately a simpler explanation is all I can write. I was put in an uncomfortable, compromising, unfair situation. Many of you have guessed what it is, and I had to look out for me. Now, this tweet is very controversial. Why? Because over here, she wrote, I have been put in an uncomfortable, compromising, unfair situation. Now, what is Nickelodeon doing behind the scenes? As a viewer growing up, I only saw what's on TV, not knowing and not really caring what's behind the scenes. But after Dan Schneider left in 2018, even Los Angeles Times put up a ridiculous, crazy allegation. What kind of practices is this man doing? He's a very, very creepy guy. Before I even get into that, and I wanted to talk about also what Jeanette McCurdy has also released within the last year, a book called I'm Glad My Mom Died. She talks about how horrible her mom was towards her in the industry and how she forced her to be in this industry because, of course, they didn't have any money growing up. So Jeanette was the moneymaker, but she also talked about how horrible Dan Schneider was to her in the show, which basically forced her out of show business. Amanda Bynes was also in question, thinking maybe Dan Schneider messed up or fucked up with her mind as well, because she was also forced out of business. She has been through a lot. She had a lot of mental breakdowns. While this isn't the first time that Amanda Bynes got caught up in rumors regarding her mental health, fans have now resurfaced some rumors about former Nickelodeon executive producer Dan Schneider and all his alleged scandals. According to the Republic World, Bynes fans claim that Schneider behaved in an extremely creepy and inappropriate way towards Bynes and young stars. In fact, there's been hundreds of fans pointing out that many female teens were constantly over-sexualized in many Nickelodeon shows like iCarly and Victorious. I'm gonna show you a couple scenes that Dan Schneider has put into the show.
Just for fun, I'm gonna say 3 sentences. Oh man, my uvula got stuck between that hamster's toes. What is that swingy thing in the back of your throat right here? I'm soaking wet! Have you ever tried to get your whole big toe in your mouth? Check this out.
Man with complete foot fetish, literally has feet all over television.
Oh, yeah. Yes!
And then this right here.
That's the stuff. Stop it around.
Oh my god. The the one thing that I'm thinking about is how were the adults also consenting to this situation to minors in these shows back then? Dan Schneider probably, was the main man. And listen, in show business, and I've heard this from many people, anybody can be replaced. So everybody wants to stay quiet because everybody wants to keep their jobs. And it caused kids back then a lot of pain. Even behind the scenes, Dan Schneider was a creep. I mean, I don't think the child actors liked him at all. And so this video from Sloan has a behind the scenes video of basically a video of Dan trying to hug Miranda Cosgrove, and you can see the amount of awkwardness this man's energy is portraying to, I don't know, even through the video. I'm kind of grossed out too. Not grossed out, but creeped out. You know, he's a grown-ass man. What the fuck are you doing? Just watch.
It's like he starts heading towards her, she sees him coming, and she walks away. Look at her backing up, and then he grabs her, pushes her towards the front. She's obviously like awkwardly smiling. Like, that is not a comfortable woman right there. And oh no, I need to...
Jeez, man. Like, jeez.
Look at him put his arm around her like that. Oh my gosh. And she's just like standing there with her hands down, like, please, let go of me, sir.
Dan just was a creep the further I look into this.
Touching her pockets, and wow, oh god, like, please get off of me. Like, he just seems, ooh, and now he's just lurking to the side. She's looking at him with some side eye to make sure that he doesn't creep up on her. Oh my gosh.
This is just like the tip of the iceberg. I was watching a podcast called Vulnerable. You guys have heard me talk about it in previous videos that I've posted, that I really enjoy watching Christy Carlson Romano's podcast because she brings in child actors and have them talk about their past experiences. The next one I want to show you is an actress named Alexis Nicolas, I believe. She was on Zoe 101. She played the character Nicole, who was Zoe's best friend. So she came as a guest in Christy Carlson Romano's podcast episode. So let me give you a little backstory on this. So Alexis was bullied throughout the Zoe 101 series. And so she was known for crying all the time because she knew she was being treated unfairly, but as a teenager, you are not taken seriously regardless the case. She had a very supportive mom who did not give a fuck if she decides to quit or not because she was Team Alexis the whole time. And so they asked her to come to the meeting room with Dan Schneider and other execs. And this is the part where she's going to talk about it.
Where I was sitting next to my mom and there was there. And I was crying because it was a very upsetting, I was worried about losing my job, you know? And she looks at me and she's like, why are you always crying? Why are you always crying? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't get this role. So I see Dan Schneider and they are looking at me and go, you know what, since Alexa's so upset, maybe we need to have her in the room without her mom. And they go, how about you step out so we can just have a calm conversation where Alexa can tell us exactly what's been going on and we can talk this over, but without having her parent there making her feel emotional. Like basically shifting blame onto my mom as a tactic to get me in the room alone.
Crazy.
So my mom didn't believe. My mom was like, fuck no. So she goes out, calls the lawyer. Now the lawyer's in cahoots with Nickelodeon.
Just to think that the lawyer is in cahoots with Nickelodeon, not even being on the actress's side of unfairness.
She wasn't advocating for me. She was like, you know, she was even telling my mom, we don't want to look problematic here. And so I'm hearing that my mom calls the lawyer's not there, which I know why she's not there, because she doesn't even want to be there, because she's working with them, you know?
Yeah, okay.
And so it's a conflict of interest because she has so many clients that are working at Nickelodeon that she wants to make sure they're protected. You know, it's like horrible.
Okay.
So she says to my mom, hey, you've let Alexa in the room alone with them multiple times. Like, think about auditions.
The lawyers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's like, you've been in auditions before, you can go in, you're gonna be fine. Like, don't be paranoid, basically. They can't do anything to her in there. You know, that's kind of was the vibe. And so my mom looks at me and goes, can you go in there? And I went, you know, what the fuck?
Isn't that sad that like everyone is in cahoots with each other just to see their best interest? Literally the kid is already traumatized with all the bullying that she has been experiencing.
Traumatized, I don't even know what's going on. And so I go, okay. And I remember going in, and it was just like a long, like exec table.
Sure, yeah.
With like a bunch of black chairs there and then a bunch here. And I'm sitting across from like 5 Nickelodeon execs.
And you're 13.
And I'm 13.
Okay.
And I'm crying still. You know, I'm like upset. I'm like just scared.
Well, you're
freaked out.
Yeah.
And so I remember Dan looks at me and goes, "Do you understand that it's called Zoe 101 and not Nicole 101?" And I just remember him like, it was so stern. And I was like,
what does that have to do with anything? Yeah, okay.
So that was Dan Schneider yelling at her saying, "This is not Nicole 101. This is Zoe 101. Like, who the fuck? I can't believe this was happening in Zoe 101 back in 2004.
I have no idea, but it was that was their whole spiel. Was like, it's Zoe 101, not Nicole 101. It was like their slogan or something. It was just like,
that's
okay,
not helping.
Not at all.
That did not age well.
So I'm like sitting there and he goes, we cannot have this happening anymore on set. Like, we just cannot have it happening anymore.
No, I agree.
Like,
what are you going to do about it? Adults?
Yeah, totally. Adult present.
That makes a lot of money off of me.
Totally. It's like, hello.
Man.
So then the girl, the woman to his right, I remember her just saying, "And if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have had this job."
And so that was the main spiel, right? Everyone is replaceable. And of course, they had to make that statement to even scare the actress. This podcast keeps going until with the part where she actually was tricked by Dan Schneider to be put in a room with Britney Spears and Jamie Lynn Spears, who was also a bully to Alexa. And then this happens.
It's our last day for season 2. Mm-hmm. And as per usual, the talent coordinator comes to the trailer, knocks on the door, tells my mom he's bringing me to makeup and hair, and I walk over to makeup and hair. As I'm walking to makeup and hair, he looks down, I remember, and says, "Actually, Jamie and Brittany want to talk to you in the trailer."
Oh, boy.
And I went... And Britney's an amazing person. She has apologized to me personally.
Oh, wow.
Britney Spears apologized, but Nickelodeon hasn't. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Wow.
Britney Spears apologized and not Nickelodeon.
What happened? I'm so invested.
It's so fucked. It's so fucked. So I go, Britney, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe Britney wants to step in and mediate. Like, this is so great.
Was your
like
mom with you?
Ian, the talent coordinator, lied to my mom, said he was bringing me to makeup and hair, and then brought me to Jamie and Brittany's trailer without her knowledge.
I will cut somebody.
That's how I feel.
I think this is one of the reasons why Christy Carlson Romano does not want her kids in the industry, because this shit happens.
Trying to explain with the Slime Time Live, like, what if it was a predator? Mm-hmm. And not Britney Spears and Jamie. And even with Britney and Jamie, it still was a dangerous situation. So it's like child endangerment, truly.
Yeah.
And so I remember being kind of nervous, but also kind of being hopeful because you're a kid and it's Britney fucking Spears and you're just wanting everything to go away and you're hoping that she's going to come and save the day. Like, your pop icon's going to come and like make things better, kind of. Mm-hmm. And so I remember walking up into the trailer, and as I opened it, I remember turning to my right to say something to Ian, and he disappeared. So he left me there.
Okay.
He left a 12-year-old, 13-year-old there. And he's a talent coordinator.
Okay.
And so when I open the door, I see Jamie run to the back of the trailer. Like, she just runs. And I'm like, that's fucking weird. And Brittany goes, "Come on in." And so I come in, and I remember the door got locked. And I was like, that's weird. And all of a sudden, she just started yelling at me.
Okay.
And she was like 8 months pregnant, so she was hormonal too.
Uh-huh.
And I remember she was rubbing her belly while she was yelling. And it was like she was trying to calm herself. And you could just tell it was very unhinged in a way that felt like someone was manipulating her. And I see Jamie back there, and she's afraid to come up, but she's letting her sister do all of her... perpetuating the abuse again, but now with her sister.
Okay.
And so I start crying, and the entire trailer is just spinning almost at this point, because I look up to Britney Spears, and that was scary. And I have an adult screaming at me saying, "I'm never going to work in this industry again," she told me.
Okay.
And it's Britney fucking Spears. And so I'm sitting there just in shock, and I go, I'm going to puke. Like, I just knew that I was going to throw up.
Okay.
And so I started saying it, trying to say it out loud, and I was like getting her to like move out of my way.
Okay.
And I went to the door, and I had to unlock it, I remember frantically, and then I stepped out and I puked.
So this in itself is a very traumatic experience, especially for Alexa. But eventually, after this podcast, she went ahead and actually made an organization to help defend against the children that have been abused back in the day. She was interviewed by TMZ, and she was protesting in front of Nickelodeon studios about this case.
Nick's safe for kids, because in my personal experience working on Zoe 101, didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like Nickelodeon was protecting me or had my best interest in mind. And so after hearing so many different stories from different Nick stars, it just feels like enough is enough. And so we're here today trying to make a change in Nickelodeon.
She has a organization. I'm going to put it in the description below. But what do you guys think of this? I mean, do you guys think Dan Schneider is a piece of shit? Because I sure do. And there was a part that Alexa was talking about in the podcast where they actually came to a final decision where she wants to leave, but they gave Alexa an ultimatum saying that, yeah, all right, you could leave, but you have to not show your face to any Nickelodeon stars, or you can't show face to any Kids' Choice Awards or anything of the sort. And that was kind of ridiculous. They also paid her to stay silent regarding the Dan Schneider allegations because they're trying to hide his stuff. Like, these adults, honestly, back then, I don't know what they were thinking, but enough is enough, right? All these people are starting to come out, which is super great for them. And honestly, I'm really happy that they're doing it. Yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think of this, and leave a comment down below because I love discussing with you guys. So don't forget, guys, subscribe to this channel. It'd be super, super great. And I'll see you guys next video.